Hi, I welcome all of you to chapter 14 in the Nectar in a Sieve novel series. As soon as the rains were over and the cracks in the earth had healed, uh, and the land was moist and ready, we took our seat to our goddess and placed it at her feet to receive her blessing. And then we bore it away and made our sowing. When a few weeks had gone by, the seed sprouted. Tender shoots appeared, thrusting upwards with increasing strength, and soon we were able to transplant the seedlings one by one. And at first they stood out singly, slender, tremulous spires with spaces between, but grew, and soon were merged into one thick field of rustling paddy. In that field, in the grain which had not yet begun to form, lay our future and our hope. So we can see here how the harvesting went, how the cultivation went, and we can see how Rukmani is describing uh, how the reap was like. They hope that there would be a good reaping. Uh, the earth had healed shows a personification, and this passage we read discuss about the nature's way of revival, and the Rukmani and Nathan's and the family's future is very unpredictable because it is still not yet known. Hope and fear, twin forces that tugged uh, at us in one direction and which was the stronger no one could say. Of the latter we never spoke, but it was always with us. Fear, constant companion of the peasant, hunger ever at hand to jog his elbow should he relax, despair ready to gulf him should he falter. Fear of the dark future, fear of the sharpness of hunger, fear of the blackness of death. So this is highly poetic. Rukmani is being highly poetic here. And Kamala Markandeya gives us the way of life of the farmers in this. Long before the paddy ripened, we came to the end of our dried fish stocks. There was no money left. Every pie had gone to pay the land dues. Nothing to sell. Nothing to be had from my efforts, for the vines and vegetables had withered in the long weeks of drought. At last, no option but to draw upon my secret hoard, a small stock of rice, 10 allocs in all, shielded every temptation to sell or barter, kept even when the need to hold our land had squeezed us dry of everything else. Now I brought it out and measured it again, 10 allocs exactly. So allocs is similar to a hundu. In Sinhalese, we would say hundu, so it's similar to that, a bit similar to that. Then I divided it into several equal portions, each of the portion as little as we could suffice for one day, and counted the portions, of which there were 24, so that for nearly a month we would not starve. For a long time I hesitated, wondering whether we could do with less, thus making 30 divisions. But finally I decided against it, for Kunti was already ailing, and we needed to preserve our strength for the harvest. So Rukmani here is very skillful. She has been able to manage by keeping part of the cultivation, some rice for them. Uh, though society is patriarchal, Rukmani is a quite feminist character in this part. For at least 24 days we shall eat, I thought. At the end of that time, well, we are in God's hands. He will not fail us. Sometimes I thought that, and at other times I was seized with trembling and was frightened, not knowing where to turn. The nights were always the worst, and not for me alone. Peace then seemed to forsake our hut, and I could hear my children and husband and children moving restlessly in their sleep and muttering, whether from hunger or fear, I do not know. Once Nathan cried out loudly and sprang up in his sleep. I went to him, and he walked in and clung to me. Only a dream, I said. Sleep, my dear one. A nightmare, he said, sweating. I saw the paddy turn to straw, the grain lost Oh God, all was lost. His voice was stark, bereft of the power of discipline with full consciousness brings. Never fear, I said with a false courage, lest panic should swoop down on us. All will be well. He composed himself for sleep again. You are a good wife, he muttered. I would not have any other. I drifted at last into uneasy sleep and dreamt many evil dreams. And in one I saw a shadowy figure with no face creeping into our hut and bearing away the 10 locks of rice. I knew it was but the result of an overburdened spirit. But the following night I had the same dream. As the days passed, I found myself growing increasingly suspicious. Except for my family, I trusted no one. Only at night, when there were no passers-by, did I feel completely safe. Then I would bring out the rice and measure it and run the grain through my fingers for sheer love of it, fondling it like a simpleton. So stark and brave means absolutely without, and dissembling means deception. So you are a good five, he muttered in the previous place we read. He said, I would not have any other. It's very ironical because in the end, it is found out that he had even fathered two of Kunti's sons. And it shows how Rukmani plays the predominant plays a role in the household. So the Rukmani stream also foreshadows a future event, a future very unlucky event uh, that would happen. So it that would tell so. And this is the beginning of the famine for the family. They would starve in the future, in the near future. When I had taken out the altered portion for the next day, I would bury the remainder, one half tied in a white cloth in a hole and a hole I dug some distance from our hut, the other half in our granary. Several times I thought of going to Kenny, and twice I did go. He would have helped us, of that I am sure, but each time I told he had gone away. The townsfolk had not seen him for many weeks. I would have gone again and again, but I had not my full strength. It was no longer easy to walk to the town and back. We might have borrowed from Biswas, but there was nothing left to pledge. In any event, we would not have been able even to pay the interest he demanded. 7 days went by, and 7 precious portions of rice were eaten. On the 8th day, Kunti came as I was cooking the rice water. I had not set eyes on her for a considerable time, not since the day I had seen her in her nakedness, and she had changed so much I scarcely recognized her. I gazed at her, hardly believing. The skin of her face was stiff and shiny as if from overstretching. Elsewhere it showed folds and wrinkles. Under her faded sari, her breasts hung loose. Gone was the tense suppleness that had been a pride and her power. Of her former beauty, not a vestige remained. Well, I thought, all women come to it sooner or later. She has come off perhaps more than the worst. Worse than most. Sit and rest a while, I said. What brings you hither? She made no answer, but walked to the pot on the fire and looked in. You eat well, she said. Better than most. Not well. We eat, that is all. You still have a husband. Why, yes, I said, staring at her, not quite taking her meaning. Why do you ask? So this was so they are in the place where she says where if Rukmani still has a husband, it shows how it shows it like sort of hints at us about the relationship that Nathan had with Kunti in the past. Uh, so actually Kunti had aged and it reflected hardship. Um, Mainly, and she should be scarcely recognized because mainly because of her prostitution, she had changed. She shrugged. I lost mine. I wanted how you have fared. Poor thing, I thought she has suffered. I looked at her pityingly. I do not want your pity, she said savagely. No, does my husband. He's alive and well. He's living with another. So probably the husband may have came to know about the relationship that Kunti had with other men. I thought of her husband, slow, steady, dependable, rather like an ox, and I could not believe it of him. Then I thought of Kunti as I had once seen her, with painted mouth and scented thighs that had held for so many men. And I thought, wondered if after all these years he had not at least found out about her. Perhaps the truth has been forced upon him, I thought, looking at her with suspicion, and I gazed again upon that ravaged beauty. Stare you will, she said scornfully. You always lacked graces, Rukmini. I averted my eyes hastily. I hardly knew what to say. I have come, she continued, not to be seen or to see you, but for a meal. I have not eaten for a long time. I went to the pot and stirred it, scooped out a little plate, out a little, placed it in a bowl, handed it to her. She swallowed it quickly and put the bowl down. I must have some rice too. I cannot come every day. As it is, I have waited a long time to make sure you were along. There is no rice to be given away, I said. I must think of my husband and children. These are not times of plenty. Nevertheless, she replied, I will have some. The damage will never be repaired while I hunger. There is no life for me until I fall again. So she wanted to engage in prostitution to make herself, her body full again. So she could engage in prostitution. She is mad, I thought. She believes what she says, does not listen, realize that there is no going back for her. Listen, I said, there is none, oh very little. Drink our rice water, come here daily, or do not ask rice. I have a daughter and sons, even as you have to consider. What I have belongs to us all. Can you not go to your sons? My sons, she said, looking at me speculatively, are not mine alone, seeing my bewilderment. She added, they have wives. I would never approach them now. What are sons? So I began. Not to beg from, she interrupted with a flick of contempt. I can look after myself, but first the bloom must come back. I was mute. I had said all there was to say, and now there was nothing. Well, she said, breaking silence with an edge to her voice. How much longer have I to wait? She came close to me and put her face near mine. I saw the grey drawn flesh and the hooded eyes deep sunken in their sockets, and I made to turn away, but she held me. I have not so much patience, she said. I will have the rice now, or your husband shall hear that his wife is not as virtuous as he believes, or she pretends. So Kunti is actually blackmailing Rukmani for nothing, for a wrong she even didn't even do. So he believes what is true, I said with anger. I do not pretend. Perhaps he has not seen what I have seen, she said. And there was menace in her voice and threat in the word. Comings and goings in the twilight, a soft speech and gifts of milk and honey, such as men make to the women they have known. Stopped, I howled at her and put my hands to my ears. Thoughts I kept hurtling through my head like frenzied squirrels in an forged cage. With sudden clarity, I recalled my daughter's looks that far day off day when I had gone to Kenya. My son's words, such men have power, especially over women. Remembered my own foolish silences. I closed my eyes and sank down. She came and sat by me. Which is it to be? Which is it to be? Uh, so Rukmani is truly virtuous, uh, but evil tongues like Rukunti are jealous are angry at the pride and strength of Rukmani. So she blackmails her, actually. So, like frenzied squirrels in a reinforced cage, we could say that if you are free, if you're falsely accused, speak out. Silences confirm them. This brings her words were hammering at my brain. The horrible syllables were beating the air around me. The whole place was full of their sound. I need you, I cried to myself, not than my husband. I cannot take the risk where there's a risk since she is clever and I am not. In anger or jealousy, or even because you are not yourself after these long strained months, you may believe what she says and what she means, because I have deceived you and cannot deny all she proclaims. You may believe the more I will kill her first time, thought and this I was strong. I felt myself shaking. I raised my hands to my eyes and there was a queering redness there. Then I heard a cry, whether of a bird or child of my own self, I do not know. And the redness cleared. I felt the water oozing through my closed eyes, through my closed fingers. I took my hands away, and there was Kunti waiting by my side with the patience of one who knows what power she wields, patient like a vulture. So, it says how Rukmani's part went at a time when Nathan wasn't there. And this brings out the worst moment of her life. She's victimized by uh, her family. So, with that, we end part one of chapter 14. In the next video, we'll meet with part two of chapter 14. Thank you. And do subscribe to my channel, like my video, and click the bell icon for more videos.